the true cause of these performers' departure from MASH. With its unique blend of comedy and drama, MASH was a huge hit. However, things weren't always easy behind the scenes. Some of the main actors abruptly quit the show, even though it seemed like they would be there forever. What caused them to abandon such a popular series? We'll learn the true causes of their exits today, as well as how these choices affected the direction of both the show and their careers. Prepare to delve into the unseen tales of the actors who left MASH and the reasons behind their decision. MASH. The popular comedy drama series MASH ran from 1972 to 1983. It centers on the life of the employees at the 4077th Mobile Army Surgical Hospital during the Korean War. These medical professionals, nurses, and support personnel put out endless effort to treat injured warriors. Audiences were enthralled by the show's distinct blend of humor and somber moments, which made it a timeless classic. Alan Alda plays Captain Benjamin Hawkeye Pierce, the primary character in MASH. Hawkeye has a keen sense of humor and is a skilled surgeon. Major Margaret Hotlips, Houlihan, Major Frank Burns, Captain Trapper, and John McIntyre are further important figures. Lieutenant Colonel Henry Blake, Corporal Radar O'Reilly, and subsequently Colonel Sherman T. Potter are all featured on the episode. The individuals and their day-to-day hardships in a combat zone are introduced in the first season. The doctors frequently use humor to deal with the tragedies of war, and the tone is a mix of serious and humorous moments. There are personal dramas, medical emergencies, and humorous moments in every episode. The characters are given additional nuance in the second season. Hawkeye and Trapper are still playing tricks and defying authority. Major Burns and Major Houlihan frequently attempt to impose military discipline, generating conflict. The show strikes a mix between humor and the sobering realities of combat. By the third season, MASH begins to address more significant problems. Episodes include subjects like the morality of war, the effects of violence, and the human cost of fighting. There is a startling twist at the end of the season. The unpredictable nature of war is demonstrated by the death of Lieutenant Colonel Henry Blake when his plane is shot down. There are fresh adjustments in the fourth season. Captain B.J. Honeycutt joins the team after Trapper departs. Blake is replaced as the commanding officer by Colonel Potter. Potter is a seasoned and astute leader who immediately wins the staff's respect. How the protagonists cope with these changes while carrying on with their profession is the main emphasis of this season. Major Charles Emerson Winchester III becomes a new surgeon in the fifth season. He is talented but conceited, which changes the dynamics of the group. The program keeps examining the individual's personal and professional lives while fusing humor with weighty subjects. This equilibrium is maintained throughout the 6th through 9th seasons. As they overcome new obstacles, the characters become closer. Episodes delve into their personal difficulties and backstories. A recurrent issue is the effect of the conflict on their mental health. The oddities and paradoxes of military life are also highlighted in the show. The characters become more introspective in the 9th and 10th seasons. They begin to consider what life would be like after the war. The toll of years spent in a combat zone is reflected in the show's increasingly somber tone. There are times of reflection and personal development, and relationships go deeper. The series concludes with its 11th and final season. The characters are getting ready to return home as the conflict draws to a close. Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen, the last episode, is a 2.5-hour special. It depicts the conclusion of the Korean War and the 4077th's personnel bidding farewell. The emotional exit of each character emphasizes the relationships they have developed. MASH received accolades for its acting, writing, and capacity to use humor to tackle weighty subjects during its tenure. The program is still regarded as a classic and has won multiple honors. It is renowned for its original fusion of drama and comedy as well as its careful examination of the human cost of war. MASH accomplished something outstanding. Although it was pertinent at the time, it is still applicable today. Given that the series premiered during the Vietnam War, a large portion of the American public found resonance in the ridiculousness of saving lives just to send warriors back into combat. New generations of viewers have continued to enjoy MASH because of its ageless appeal. Even though the show was popular at the time, some stars quit for various reasons. On November 14, 1927, Edgar McLean Stevenson Jr., better known by his stage as McLean Stevenson, was born in Normal, Illinois. Despite his family's long history in politics and medicine, Stevenson forged his own path. Adlai Stevenson, too, his cousin, was a presidential candidate, and his father was a cardiologist. Early in life, McLean was heavily influenced by academia and encouraged to pursue renowned occupations, but his goals were different. Stevenson completed his secondary school at Lake Forest Academy. In keeping with his family's legacy of public duty, he spent a brief time in the U.S. Navy. But his passion was somewhere else. He attended Northwestern University after serving and earned a degree in theater arts there. His early career would be influenced by his affiliation with the Phi Gamma Delta fraternity, which he joined during his college years. Despite having a theater degree, Stevenson had a difficult journey to becoming an actor. He worked as a press secretary for his cousin Adlai's presidential campaign and sold insurance, among other things. Even though they had nothing to do with acting, these professions gave him a wide range of skills and a distinct viewpoint that he would later use in his performances. McLean Stevenson started his career in show industry as a radio host in Dallas. He immediately became a local favorite due to his sweet voice and captivating charm. However, it was his writing abilities that initially attracted national notice. He relocated to New York City in the early 1960s and started contributing to The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. This gig was a big change of pace, introducing him to powerful people in the television business. Stevenson took his time getting into acting. Seeing his ability for performance, his relative advised him to take acting more seriously. He became a member of the American Musical and Dramatic Academy in 1961. This decision turned out to be crucial since it gave him official training and a strong acting foundation. He started making appearances in TV ads after making his stage debut in The Musician, progressively expanding his repertoire. In 1972, McLean Stevenson was cast as Lieutenant Colonel Henry Blake on the television series MASH, a role that would define his career. Audiences responded favorably to Stevenson's portrayal of Henry Blake, the laid-back and even foolish commanding officer. The show's brutal facts were given a human touch by his character's warmth and humor. MASH swiftly rose to prominence as one of the most watched television programs. Stevenson won the 1974 Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actor for his outstanding performance. He became well known because both reviewers and fans adored his portrayal of Henry Blake. After the third season in 1975, Stevenson made the decision to leave MASH, despite the show's popularity and his own praise. A number of things contributed to his departure. Stevenson's main complaint was that his character wasn't used enough. He desired roles that would give him more opportunity to show off his skills because he felt he had more to offer. He was also irritated by the growing emphasis on the roles portrayed by Loretta Swit and Alan Alda. Instead of being a member of an ensemble cast, Stevenson wanted to find roles where he could be the main character. Stevenson's departure from MASH was noteworthy and dramatic. His character, Henry Blake, was released from the Army in the third season's last episode and prepared to head back home. The terrible news that Henry Blake had died and his jet had been shot down marked the end of the episode. One of the most moving scenes in television history, this sudden and tragic turn brought to light the harsh reality of war amid the comedy aspects of the program. The choice to eliminate Henry Blake's character was revolutionary. At the time, it was uncommon for television programs to so openly discuss the deadly effects of war. The show and its viewers were affected by Stevenson's exit. McLean Stevenson tried to profit from his newfound notoriety after leaving MASH. In an attempt to duplicate the success he had enjoyed, he starred in a number of TV series. In 1976, he made his stage debut as Mac Ferguson on The McLean Stevenson Show. Despite having high hopes, the show failed to connect with viewers and was cancelled after just one season. Stevenson persisted in aiming for prominent positions despite this setback. He starred in Hello Larry, a spin-off of the hit television program Different Strokes, in 1979. Stevenson portrayed Larry Alder, a single father and host of a radio discussion program. Sadly, Hello Larry was cancelled after 2 seasons since it did not achieve the same level of success as MASH. Stevenson starred in a number of television shows and motion pictures in the late 1970s and early 1980s. In addition to starring in the science fiction comedy picture The Cat from Outer Space in 1978, he had cameos on television series like The Love Boat and The Golden Girls. None of these initiatives, in spite of his best efforts, were as well received or well liked as MASH. Even if his projects did not have the same degree of success, McLean Stevenson continued to be a well-known figure on television in his later years. He started appearing on the game show Match Game as a frequent panelist, and kept appearing as a guest star on different shows. He was a favorite on both talk shows and game shows because of his charisma and quick wit. There were ups and downs in Stevenson's personal life. He has 3 children and 3 marriages. Between 1957 to 1960, he was married to Polly Ann Gordon for the first time. In 1969, he wed Louise Herbert, but the two parted ways in 1971. In 1980, he married Ginny Fosdick for the third and last time, and they stayed together until his passing. McLean Stevenson, 68, died of a heart attack on February 15, 1996. His passing was a huge blow to the entertainment sector. His portrayal as Henry Blake, who made a lasting impression on television history and reflected on his choice to quit MASH, is the main reason Stevenson is remembered. Stevenson admitted that it might not have been the greatest course of action for his career. He subsequently said, "I made the mistake of thinking that people were enamored of McLean Stevenson when, in reality, they were enamored of Henry Blake. Therefore, nobody is interested in McLean Stevenson if you performed the McLean Stevenson act." After years of trying to achieve the same level of success he experienced on MASH, he came to this realization. Stevenson made a substantial contribution to television in spite of the difficulties he encountered after MASH. His portrayal of Henry Blake gave the program warmth, humor, and compassion, and his exit left viewers with one of the most unforgettable TV moments ever. The intricacies and unpredictabilities of the entertainment industry are brought to light by Stevenson's career. Trapper John McIntyre and Wayne Rogers. On April 7, 1933, Wayne Rogers was born William Wayne McMillan Rogers III in Birmingham, Alabama. Rogers' early years were characterized by his academic aspirations and a deep interest in a variety of hobbies, despite coming from a humble home. His destiny was shaped by his extracurricular and academic pursuits while he was a student at Ramsey High School. Following high school, Rogers attended Princeton University, an Ivy League institution, where he earned a history degree in 1954. Rogers was a member of the Triangle Club while attending Princeton, a group of people that performed musical comedies in theater. His passion in acting was probably sparked by this encounter, even though he did not follow it right away. After graduating, Rogers joined the American military. Navy. Rogers' Navy career was shaped by his stint as a navigator on the store ship USS Denebola. He started to get more interested in performance throughout his time in the military. His capacity to dedicate himself to demanding and orderly settings was also shown during this time, which would later be advantageous to him in his acting career. Rogers made the decision to take acting seriously after serving his time. He received instruction from famed acting instructor Sanford Meisner at the local Playhouse School of the Theater in New York City. His acting abilities were firmly established by this training. His career's early years were difficult, nevertheless. Rogers did a lot of odd jobs. Includes working as a lifeguard, a cab driver, and a waiter to make ends meet as he tried out for jobs. Small parts in films and television were part of Rogers' early career. In 1959, he made his on-screen debut in the television series Search for Tomorrow and the film Odds Against Tomorrow. Even with these early jobs, he did not instantly have a successful career. Throughout the early 1960s, he kept accepting modest roles in a variety of TV series and motion pictures. When Wayne Rogers was chosen to play Captain Trapper John McIntyre in the television series MASH in 1972, it was his big break. Alan Alda's character, Captain Benjamin Hawkeye Pierce, was the show's main antagonist and best friend to Rogers' character, a thoracic surgeon. MASH was a comedy and drama that gained enormous popularity very fast. Both critics and viewers praised Rogers' performance as Trapper John. His charisma, wit, and strong moral convictions were well known. The popularity of the show was largely attributed to Rogers and Alda's chemistry. The two's exchanges gave the show depth and humor, which helped it become a cherished television mainstay. Wayne Rogers left MASH after the third season in 1975, despite the show's popularity. Creative issues were the main reason for his departure. Rogers believed that Aldous Hawkeye was eclipsing his character. He felt that Trapper John was becoming less of a main character and more of a supporting character, which was not how he wanted his role to develop. Rogers also took issue with Trapper John's lack of character growth. The producers rejected his requests for more substantive plots and equal treatment with Aldous' role. He finally decided to leave the show as a result of this argument. Fans of the show were saddened by his departure, which was significant. Wayne Rogers continued to work in movies and television after leaving MASH. He played Dr. Charlie Michaels in the television series House Calls, among others. He received a Golden Globe nod for this role, which also showcased his range as an actor. Rogers appeared in City of Angels as well, and cameos in a number of other TV shows and motion pictures. His performance in the television film Ghosts of Mississippi as civil rights fighter Morris Dees was one noteworthy part. Rogers' reputation as a gifted actor was further cemented by this portrayal, which demonstrated his capacity to play more somber roles. Wayne Rogers was a prosperous businessman and investor in addition to his acting career. His stint on MASH sparked his interest in finance, and later oversaw his own investing portfolio. Rogers gained recognition for his financial savvy and earned the moniker The Wizard for his proficiency. He frequently gave his thoughts on stocks and the stock market as a financial commentator on the Fox News Channel's show Cashin'. Rogers' success in the financial industry demonstrated his brilliance and versatility. Like his professional career, Wayne Rogers had a diverse and colorful personal life. He had 2 marriages. In 1960, he married actress Mitzi McWhorter for the first time. William Rogers IV, the couple's son, and Laura Rogers, their daughter, were born. They had lived apart for a number of years until their official divorce in 1983. Rogers married Amy Hirsch in 1988. Until his passing, this marriage persisted. According to rumors, Rogers and actress Melinda Nod had a kid named Luigi Calabrese. Wayne Rogers died of pneumonia-related complications on December 31, 2015. He was 82. A tremendous career spanning more than 50 years came to an end with his death. Rogers was regarded as a gifted actor and astute businessman who left behind a legacy of unforgettable performances. Lieutenant Colonel Frank Burns and Larry Linville. Born in Ojai, California, on September 29, 1939, Larry Linville is an actor best remembered for playing Major Frank Burns in the classic television series MASH. Linville grew up in Sacramento, California, and went to El Camino High School. Although his early years suggested a bright career in entertainment, his love of performing didn't really take off until much later. He started studying aeronautical engineering at the University of Colorado after graduating from high school. But Linville's attention quickly turned to the theatrical arts, and he applied to London's esteemed Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, or RADA. He was thrilled to be selected, joining just 3 other Americans who were awarded scholarships. Linville developed his acting abilities at RADA by immersing himself in a demanding program that prioritized classical training. His future career would be greatly influenced by this foundation. Linville returned to the United States after finishing his education, where he started his career as a theatrical actor. Early in his career, Linville appeared in a number of stage plays and television guest spots. Under the direction of Robert Hufford Porterfield, the founder of the Barter Theater in Abington, Virginia, he performed with the group. Linville was able to improve his trade and acquire useful stage experience as a result of this experience. In television, Linville began to establish himself in the late 1960s and early 1970s. He made appearances in a number of well-known programs from the time, including as Room 222, Bonanza, and the FBI. These parts contributed to Linville's reputation as a versatile actor who could play a range of roles. But his big break came in 1972 when he was chosen to play Major Frank Burns in the TV show MASH. The popularity of MASH was largely attributed to Larry Linville's portrayal of Major Frank Burns. As a counterpoint to Hawkeye Pierce, Trapper John McIntyre, and eventually BJ, Frank Burns was a clumsy, conceited, and slightly paranoid surgeon. Honeycutt. Linville's performance gave the performance a unique blend of tension and humor, establishing Frank Burns as a remarkable figure. Frank Burns was frequently the object of verbal abuse and practical jokes from his co-workers. Frank stood out on the show because Linville was able to capture his fears and inadequacy. Despite the shortcomings of his character, Linville gave Frank Burns a depth by highlighting his weaknesses and giving his character more facets. Larry Linville left MASH after the fifth season in 1977, despite the show's success and his popularity on it. He had a number of reasons for leaving. Linville's perception that his character had grown overly flat was a major contributing factor. Frank Burns was frequently portrayed negatively and was mostly utilized for comedic relief. Linville desired to investigate alternative positions and prospects that would enable him to demonstrate his versatility as an actor. It was a brave move for Linville to leave a popular program like MASH, but he felt it was essential to his development as an actor. He stated that instead of being stereotyped as the clumsy surgeon, he would like to take on more varied and difficult jobs. His career underwent a sea change as a result of this choice, which created new opportunities. Linville continued to work in cinema and television after leaving MASH. Throughout his career, Linville maintained his reputation as a respected character actor, while never achieving the same degree of fame as he did in the role of Major Burns. He made appearances in Murder, She Wrote, Fantasy Island, and The Love Boat. Linville was able to demonstrate his flexibility and show that he was more than simply Frank Burns in these roles. In addition to his work on television, Linville had appearances in films including Earth Girls Are Easy and School Spirit. These films gave Linville the chance to experiment with many genres and characters, even though they did not receive the same degree of praise as MASH. Linville found employment and stayed committed to his art in spite of the difficulties posed by being typecast. In his private life, Larry Linville was married multiple times. He had a daughter named Kelly from his previous marriage to Kate Gear. Later on, he wed Deborah Gaiden, Susan Hagen, Melissa Gallant, and Vanna Tribby. Linville's marriages were a reflection of his complicated and even tumultuous personal life. The legacy of Larry Linville, especially his portrayal of Major Frank Burns, is still significant in the history of television. One of the biggest indicators of his acting prowess is his ability to portray a character who is extremely flawed and frequently unlikable while still retaining a sense of humor. Linville's MASH performance has lasted, and he is credited with playing a significant role in the success of the program. Linville's portrayal of Frank Burns is still praised even though he left MASH to avoid being stereotyped. His character gave the program a distinct dynamic, and Frank Burns was a standout performance because of his comedic timing and ability to strike a balance between humor and sorrow. There was a notable gap in MASH once Linville quit the show. Viewers both adored and hated Frank Burns, and the dynamics of the program were greatly influenced by his interactions with the other characters. Following Linville's departure, David Ogden Stiers's portrayal of Major Charles Winchester was presented. Frank Burns' departure was noticeable, but Winchester added a fresh kind of intensity to the play. Linville's drive for development and artistic integrity was evident in his choice to leave MASH. He could have kept portraying Frank Burns and benefited from the stability of a successful program. However, he decided to take a chance and look for other options. This decision demonstrates Linville's commitment to his art and his readiness to push himself as an actor. Linville continued to work in cinema and television in his later years, despite his health problems becoming worse. He was dedicated to his work and kept taking on roles till he was unable to continue working in spite of his deteriorating health. Linville's fight with cancer was challenging. However, he approached it with the same tenacity that had defined his professional life. Larry Linville died on April 10, 2000, from pneumonia complications after undergoing cancer surgery. He was 60 years old. The entertainment industry suffered a great loss with his passing, and both his fans and colleagues lamented the loss of a gifted and committed actor. Corporal Walter Radar O'Reilly and Gary Berghoff. On May 24, 1943, Gary Rich Berghoff was born in Bristol, Connecticut. His early interests in the arts were encouraged by the loving atmosphere his parents, Rodney and Ann Berghoff, provided. Gary showed a strong interest in nature and wildlife from an early age. He developed a bond with nature throughout his early years spent among Forestville's brooks and meadows. And Berghoff's mother performed in local theater. Poet, songwriter, choreographer, and screenwriter. She gave him an introduction to the performing arts. Gary, who accompanied her to rehearsals, became fascinated with musicians, singers, and stage actors. He was adamant about following his passions even though he was born with a club foot and multiple malformed fingers in his left hand. Through perseverance and hard work, he overcame his physical limitations to learn jazz drumming and tap dance. The Berghoff family relocated to Delavan, Wisconsin, during his sophomore year. Gary graduated from Delavan Darien High School in 1962, already making rounds in Milwaukee nightclubs as a drummer with the Bud Wilbur Orchestra. His talents were clear and his will to succeed was unshakable. Berghoff relocated to New York City to pursue his aspirations after graduating from high school. He enrolled in HB Studio, where he received instruction from well-known instructors like Charles Nelson Riley, James Tuttle, and Sanford Meisner. To support himself, he worked at Saks Fifth Avenue and performed in jazz clubs with his band, the We Three. Berghoff's early career was marked by his roles in various theater productions. He appeared in a number of well-known plays, including Look Homeward, Angel, Bells Are Ringing, The Sound of Music, Finian's Rainbow, and Tea and Sympathy. His breakthrough came on March 7, 1967, when he debuted as Charlie Brown in the musical comedy, You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. The show was a massive success, running for over 1,500 performances in New York and Los Angeles, and established Berghoff as a talented actor. Berghoff's life changed in 1970 after his portrayal of Charlie Brown caught the attention of director Robert Altman. He was offered a screen test by Altman for his next movie, MASH. Berghoff was cast as Corporal Walter Eugene Radar O'Reilly, a character that would define his career. Following the success of the film, MASH was adapted into a television series by Larry Gelbart in 20th Century Fox. The series began on CBS in 1972, and Berghoff was the only actor from the original film asked to repeat his part. The naive and perceptive business clerk Radar O'Reilly soon rose to prominence as one of the most adored television characters. Berghoff became a fan favorite because to his portrayal of Radar, which was commended for its charm and relatability. Berghoff encountered both personal and professional difficulties despite the popularity of MASH and the love of his supporters. His family life suffered as a result of the rigorous shooting schedule. Gina, his daughter, was born in 1975 after he married Janet Gale in 1971. But his marriage was strained by the long hours on set and the demands of celebrity. His marriage had ended in divorce by the time he made the decision to leave MASH in 1979. Berghoff returned to his childhood home with his 4-year-old daughter, seeking peace and a fresh start. In television history, Berghoff's exit from MASH was a pivotal event. He opted to leave the show after its 7th season, claiming exhaustion and a desire to spend more time with his family. He found it challenging to be involved in his children's lives due to the rigorous shooting schedule of the series. Furthermore, Berghoff wanted to pursue other possibilities because he believed he had developed his character as far as he could. He made this choice because he needed to achieve fulfillment and balance apart from the demands of a popular television program. The producers handled his departure carefully and did not take his decision lightly. Radar was given a heartwarming farewell in his last episode. After his uncle passed away, he made the decision to go back home and manage the family farm, delivering a fitting resolution to the tale of his character. Originally, Goodbye Radar, the final episode of the 7th season, was supposed to be Radar's farewell. But in order to give fans a fitting farewell to the cherished character, CBS asked Berghoff to return for a 2-part farewell series. The tearful exit demonstrated Berghoff's dedication to striking a balance between his personal and professional well-being. Berghoff kept up his career in entertainment after leaving MASH. However, he never became as well known as he was with Radar. He made appearances on a number of television programs such as Tales of the Unexpected, The Love Boat, and Fantasy Island. Additionally, he took part in a number of game programs, including Hollywood Squares, Match Game, and Tattletales. Even while he kept appearing on TV, he was unable to land a part that had the same profound impact on viewers as Radar O'Reilly. Berghoff played Radar again in the MASH spin-offs Walter and After MASH in 1984. However, Berghoff progressively turned his attention to other endeavors as these shows did not have the same level of success as the first series. He hosts the pets part of the family PBS series because of his passion for wildlife and the natural world. In 1999, when he expressed to the audience his love of animals. Acting was not the only thing Gary Berghoff was skilled at. He was a skilled jazz drummer who spent his entire life honing his craft. By incorporating his passion for the natural world into his works, he also achieved popularity as a wildlife artist. He discovered a new feeling of fulfillment in his artistic pursuits, and his work was favorably accepted. Berghoff was not just an artist but also a songwriter and inventor. All facets of his life demonstrated his inventiveness and imagination, and he continued to be involved in regional theater, appearing in shows all throughout the US and Canada. He performed Neil Simon's Last of the Red Hot Lovers in 120 theaters between 1999 and 2000. To MASH and Back, My Life in Poems and Songs, Berghoff's autobiography, offered a close-up view of his life and work. Written in a novel style that blended poetry, lyrics, and prose, the book captured his complex personality and his journey through the highs and lows of entertainment. Berghoff had both successes and setbacks in his personal life. His first marriage to Janet Gale ended in 1979, and he later married Elizabeth Bostrom in 1985. Together, they had 2 boys, but they also experienced marital problems. They separated in 2005 as a result of Berghoff's strong religious convictions. With their kids, Elizabeth relocated to California, while Berghoff kept concentrating on his spiritual development. Berghoff's commitment to his family never wavered in spite of the difficulties. His choice to quit MASH in the height of its fame demonstrated his dedication to putting his personal goals ahead of his career accomplishments. Many admirers who respected his bravery and moral character found resonance in this decision. Gary Berghoff's portrayal of Radar O'Reilly remains a crucial part of television history. Both fans and reviewers continue to applaud his contributions to MASH, and his work has had an impact on the entertainment sector. His choice to quit MASH emphasized the value of striking a balance between one's personal and professional lives, a lesson that audiences still find compelling. From his early years in Forestville to his tenure on MASH and beyond, Berghoff's career demonstrates his devotion to both his profession and his principles.